everybody. Great that you're tuning in our 20-minute Just Ask live stream. And here we will invite an expert each month to answer your questions that will help you further in your pig business. And in December, we've talked to Frans Leemans about ventilation. And Kriijn and I are very happy that this month we have Hubèrt van Hees. And he can answer all your questions on piglet feed and nutrition. So thank you for joining us, Hubèrt.
You're welcome, Cheyenne. Looking forward to the meeting. To the questions.
Yeah, we're very excited about this topic because at Verrijken we want to ensure that 100% of all newborn piglets have a happy and healthy life. And of course, nutrition is an essential factor for rearing robust piglets. So Trouw Nutrition has spent over 100 years researching how they can make the transition to solid feed more gradual to prevent a weaning dip. And in these 20 minutes, Hubèrt from Trouw Nutrition will share his knowledge on that based on the questions that you've sent in before. So if you have questions during the live stream, you can post them in the comments below. And then we will try to squeeze them in these 20 minutes. The questions that have been sent in advance, we will answer first. Then we go to Hubèrt. So thank you for joining us. And you have a lot of knowledge about how you can make the transition to solid feed more gradual to prevent the weaning dip. Mm-hmm. And what are your key tips for pig producers?
Awesome. Well, in terms of nutrition, it is always finding the best solution which fits with your farm and with your farm conditions. So there's no general answer, I'm afraid. But we at Trouw Nutrition, if I may introduce the topic of piglet nutrition, we have several, let's say, prerequisites for our own piglet nutrition programs. For developing these programs, we do that continuously, and it is important that we keep in mind what does the piglet need, of course, the physiological needs. But we are in a business, so we have to do it economically. So that's also important. And lastly, we have to look at what the farm conditions are and how they develop also towards the future, because the pig industry is a dynamic, continuously evolving business and activity. And so there is no one solution, Cheyenne, to that. Maybe as a further introduction, if you allow me.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I work for the company Trouw Nutrition. We have a piglet feed brand called Milky Wean, a global brand. And I show you here this picture where actually most of our research is done. So we do quite some own research in sows, piglets, and grower fattener pigs. And very nicely, only recently we built a complete new unit where we do nutrition and health research. So just to highlight that this is where I and my colleagues conduct research for further developing piglet feeds. And to the topic, we talk about piglet feeds before and after weaning, and just to introduce the topic of pre-weaning nutrition. Of course, if you want to develop and use piglet feeds in this phase, so when the piglets are still with the sow, it's important, we think, that you introduce diets that are stimulating the development of the intestine, including the stomach. Because the piglet is born quite naive and with underdeveloped gastrointestinal system, so digestive system. And of course, for a pig to grow, for any animal to grow, you need to be able to digest your feed and use the nutrients for growth. And of course, for the young piglets, there's another important thing, and that is that they have to learn how to eat. So something that seems very obvious for most, But eating is a thing you have to learn. Maybe you remember when you were young, or when you see a young human infant trying to eat. That can be a very messy business. Also, piglets have to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is all to safeguard a smooth weaning process. Because everybody knows weaning is the second, I would say, big challenge for a pig. If you then talk about a little bit further about weaning. Weaning is the phase where piglets have to learn and eat completely for themselves. So we think that piglet feeds after weaning should be, first of all, very palatable. Piglets must enjoy eating those diets. They should be safe. They should be protecting the animal against potential pathogens and potential upset of the intestine. And we also believe that we should support the piglet in this transition. So we can modify the diet in such a way that the gastrointestinal tract, the intestines and the stomach are kept healthy. And that's what you can do with good piglet nutrition. And maybe a little bit, maybe new for many of you, but we think that we can learn quite a lot from wild pigs, because you have to remember that our pigs, they may seem very different from their wild ancestors, but in many respects they are still quite similar. Our domestic pigs have been domesticated somewhere between 5,000 and 12,000 years ago. That seems like a long time, but in evolution, this is only a blink of the eye. So we have to, I think, acknowledge that our pigs are still a little bit like they were, still quite a lot like they were when they were evolving over time. And what can we learn from these pigs? Well, one of the things we can learn is how they behave. And behavior is, I think, also something a nutritionist should be aware of. You can make very nice diets, but if the pigs don't eat it, or they sort of ignore it, or they cannot handle it, well, what's the use? And one of the things we learned from studies in semi-wild conditions and wild conditions is that the sow is very important in this respect. So the sow teaches her piglets to eat. And that is maybe not a surprise, because it's the piglet is very naive, doesn't know what is safe to eat, and is very much focused on what does mother do. And the piglet tries to copy that, assuring in such a way that the food he or she is eating is safe. And the other thing is that piglets also learn each other to eat. So it's also important that pigs are able to eat from each other. So we should have design housing systems that are allowing this interaction between piglets and the den. And last slide is to introduce the topic. In one of the projects we are working on together with Van Hees, we also look at not only at how piglets can eat together, like the right picture shows. I think very nicely it shows that these piglets are very much focused on what the sow is doing. Here in this picture we are feeding the sow and the piglet together. And it's very clear that there's much attention from the animals to see what the sow is eating, and we know that they also are stimulated to eat in that at that moment. On the left side, you see an example of a development by Van Hees, where they looked at drinking, and because also drinking is something a piglet should learn. And also there, I think we should safeguard that the piglet is able to learn this. And also there, the sow can be an example, and other piglets can be example. So also there, we should design systems that are accommodating the natural behavior of the sow and her piglets. So that is a sort of short introduction, partly on nutrition, partly on behavior and housing system.
All right, thank you. And if a piglet needs to learn how to eat, what aspects do you look at? Do you look at I don't know, shapes or other things, or?
Yeah, also there, that's a good one. That's a good question indeed, because you can also think about what are interesting and stimulating ways of physical form of a feed.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine that some feeds might be more close to what piglets find interesting and stimulates them to eat. We know that piglets are very inquisitive, so they are curious. They're looking around, and if you are a little bit conscious of how pigs behave in a farrowing crate,
Mm-hmm.
They of course they eat and they rest, but when they are active, especially when they are a little bit older, after 1 week, they are very active and they play, and by playing behavior, they also learn to eat. So your diets, I think you can also stimulate this by, for example, we know from research that the form of the pellet can help to stimulate piglets to eat. Either bigger pellets or more soft pellets, or especially variation. That's what piglet triggers to eat.
Because they are curious and then they want to try it.
Exactly, yeah. And maybe one other aspect is that diets should also seem or should be safe and should smell familiar to a pig, because piglets in the basis, piglets are we call that neophobic. So they are a bit afraid of new things, because food can be also dangerous. Think about toxins or other can have negative factors, anti-nutritional factors that affect the health of a piglet. So if a diet is familiar to a pig, then it also helps to get them to eat. And one of the things we explored is that you add flavors to a diet that mimic the flavor of the sow, because the sow is something a piglet can trust. So the mother smell of flavor is something that sort of comforts the piglet, and we have seen that stimulates them to eat.
All right. Yeah, we had some questions as well, and one of the questions. Yeah.
I have a question about that flavor.
Yeah, sure.
Can you tell us a little bit more? That's also already in the womb, right? How do you call it? Before, that's very interesting, I think. Can you explain a little bit?
Yeah, we know that indeed, actually, that's already it's also work done in human infants, that if the mother eats as a high variety of foods, that their infants, the young human baby, also is more willing to eat all kind of food. So they are less afraid, and they are more able to eat diets. And also that's the same as in pigs, we know now by doing research on that. So we can, on the one hand, look at the ingredients of the sow diet, which can also cause flavors of the ingredients crossing the placenta, and the piglet will already experience those flavors before they are born. And we can add specific flavors that are, of which we know that they are transferred through the placenta to the piglets. So indeed, then the piglets are born, and when they encounter diets that resemble the same flavors as they experienced during their life in their prenatal life, the life in the womb, then indeed they are more willing to eat. Yeah, that's true.
And do they also grow faster? Can you see that, or can you not say that?
Well, what the most clear effects are more related to less stress. So they feel more comfortable and they are eating better. And maybe you are aware that piglets have difficulties eating, especially after weaning, when they are stressed by the change of environment, change of diet, the absence of the sow. And if they then detect these flavors, if their environment has these flavors, then they are more quiet and more at ease. So in that sense, they start to eat earlier, and that sort of safeguards their health. Because if piglets don't eat for a long time, that is very risky for their health. So in the end, this will also result in better growth performance and better feed intake, better growth. But that's the basis is having a healthy piglet. That should be the focus.
Yeah. Because there was also a question that was sent in, and does family feeding has an influence on the age at which piglets can get weaned? Do we already know that or not yet?
Yeah, maybe this family feeding to introduce that a bit to people who are not aware. This is one of the projects we are working on, Trouw Nutrition and Vereike, together with Wageningen University. And in this project, we try to design food and feeds and a housing system that allows this learning by the sow. And then related to the question, it's probably, later weaning is usually or the weaning date is usually determined by economical factors. So for a piglet, weaning at 12 weeks or later would be ideal. That's the natural situation. But we can have that in a commercial setting. So that's why we wean earlier, and that's in most parts of the world it's somewhere between 3 and 4 weeks. I think that if we are able to make this family feeding a success, then probably we can be more sure that piglets are ready to get weaned. I'm not sure if we can wean earlier, but I think the weaning can be more successful and less stressful, and therefore more economical.
Yeah. Because in the blog it also said that you can, in nature, piglets can eat a little bit after 14 days. But we also got a question: after how many days can you start giving solid feed to piglets in your barn?
Yeah, you can start every time you want. But probably the question is what is useful, what is logical. Huh? And indeed, piglets, we see, let's say, significant intakes starting at about 2 weeks of age. Before that time, we know that they are exploring the feed, so they will sniff, push, shovel them around, probably also waste some of this feed, of this expensive feed. But we believe that by making feed available already before 2 weeks, that piglets gradually start to learn what it means, learn to explore the food. And although they eat still quite little amounts, it can be only a few grams, it is the moment to start learning how to eat. So in general, we say, okay, if you have you have the possibilities, start to creep feed in the first week after the pigs are born. And then you will see that the pigs will eat more easy after 2 weeks and later life. And that's, I think, the question after the answer I would give to this question.
All right. And then there was another question on family feeding. And that was, is there more competition over feed and attention of the mother if they then eat earlier?
Yeah. Yeah, competition over feed. Yeah, maybe that's related to the fact that in some systems, piglets and sow can eat together, and they, for example, can access the sow feed. I don't think that farmers are already feeding piglet feed to sow and piglet. That would be, in most cases, too expensive. I think in a natural situation, and if a sow is a good mother, she should allow her offspring to eat. And I mean, it would be unnatural if there was a high competition between the sow and her piglets. We have to, I think, consider that you shouldn't underfeed the sow. If she would be, let's say, underfed, she would be more prone to defend the feed against her piglets. So that's why I think also in this project we just discussed the family feeder project. The sows are able to eat ad libitum, so they can eat whenever they want and almost as much as they want. So that I think further reduces the risk of competition. But basically, I would say a good mother sow will not fight over feed and compete with her own litter. I think it's the other way around. It will show and it will lead the sow to the feed, the piglets to the foods, and will try to stimulate their litter to eat. We have anecdotal evidence from people who are some of my colleagues who work in the field and also look at pigs and how they behave. That piglets and sows call their piglets when they are eating. They make a certain sound so that piglets come towards the sow and start eating. And so it's all about understanding their natural behavior. They are not machines. They are human. They are living organisms, and with their complexity, we have to, I think, acknowledge that.
Yeah, I think that's a great insight. And if I see the time, it's we're already over the 20 minutes. But
right.
The results of the family feeding are coming in February or something later, right?
Yeah, Quirijn, you probably know also that this will be not before, let's say, later this year.
No.
It is. We are compiling the data. The scientists are working on analyzing these data. Yep. So it will be later this year. So we have to be a bit patient in that respect.
But it will be very exciting.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have questions about it. And if you have more questions on pig feed or piglet feed, you can email to Hubèrt van Hees at Trouw Nutrition. And for more news later also on the family feeding project, we will keep an eye on it. And if you also have questions, meanwhile for Verrijken on it, you can ask questions to Quirijn at Verrijken Hooyer. And you can also subscribe to the newsletter on our website, and we will write blogs regularly and those kind of things to keep you updated. So, Hubert, I want to thank you very much for joining us on this first live stream of the Just Ask session. And yeah, so thank you for joining. Akira, you have anything to ask?
No, I think I have a lot to ask, but we only have 20 minutes. But
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I will put Hubert's mail up again. So if you have a lot to ask, you can email Hubert. And then, yeah, this is also recorded. So also later, if you watch this recording later and you have questions, you can email Hubert on this thing here. Yeah, so thank you for watching, and thank you for joining, and we hope to see you in our next Just Ask session.
okay.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.